Hello, friends, and welcome to What the Fringe, the podcast dedicated to all things Fringe theater. I'm your host, Lauren Hantz. Each week, I visit with a Fringe artist to hear all about their endeavors and gain insight into their process. This week, I'm visiting with Levani of the Omega Male program, and Heartbreak Feels Good in a Place Like This. Heartbreak Feels Good in a Place Like This is an interactive clown-ish variety show exploring grief and corporate greed using a certain movie theater commercial everyone either loves or hates with every fiber of their being. The audience can influence the exploration and how they'd like to experience that commercial, be it through music, monologue, dance, or literally anything else. We can find out together if heartbreak can really feel good in a place like this. And the Omega Male program. Young men and boys are being targeted by predatory online communities and social media algorithms, pressuring them to live up to unrealistic, hyper-masculine lifestyles. But this is all so they can be marketed products, such as chewable Viagra, cheaply made grooming products, and scammy therapy subscriptions. Levani has been living an unrealistically hyper-masculine lifestyle purely by coincidence. They've cut down trees, worked in construction, and excelled in several manly activities such as horses, beard growing, and cars. Unfortunately, due to their gender fluidity and queerness, their life has always been under scrutiny. As revenge, they are about to debut the ultimate men's self-help grift, the Omega Male program.
In San Diego, at least, there aren't very many spaces where you could go, hey, I want to put on a show. It's not very accessible. There's a couple of spots, and they can be affordable, they can be understanding, but like, you have to know, you have to find out, you have to figure it out. And Fringe is a good like infrastructure where you can sort of plant something and see what happens. And then maybe take to a bigger theater and say, hey, look, I got these sold out shows, I got these awards, I got this press. I know it's still a crazy idea on paper, but please, if you watch this video, it'll make sense.
Levani is an award-winning writer and performer from the Republic of Georgia, starting with the Brazilian art form of capoeira from an early age. They've branched out into other performance and visual art styles and now create jack-of-all-trades interactive experiences that blend music, dance, acrobatics, and humor, branching choose-your-own-adventure narratives, overly complicated PowerPoints, and whatever else they can cram into an hour-long script. While the plays they've written so far have been drastically different in genre or style, they each use humor and an exploration of deeply personal, sometimes traumatic subjects to educate and inspire some sort of change in their audiences. Their plays have enjoyed multiple sold-out performances, several awards, and critical acclaim while touring around the U.S., and hope to continue to do so internationally. While offstage, Levani practices, procrastinates, and often perseverates about socially awkward interactions from a decade ago. Levani, welcome to What the Fringe.
Thank you, Lauren. Hello.
Hey, I'm so glad to have you here. So last year we met at the San Diego Fringe, and you and I kind of just had this like kindred spirit of how we like to live our lives, which is in community and connecting people. And like you started connecting people and I was like, oh, this person, I need to connect with this person so we can be the like Fringe connectors. And we had a good time. And so I was just so excited to have you on the program and very excited about the upcoming projects you have. So welcome.
Yeah, it was very nice to see somebody else bringing folks together because we're in an environment where a lot of folks are here from out of town, don't know what's happening, don't know where to go. And people have done this for me, so I would like to do that for other folks when they're in my home base.
Well, you played like a wonderful host, so it was great to hang out with you. Well, let's hop in and talk about your journey as an artist. So you grew up in the Republic of Georgia. Tell me about like the art scene, like what influenced you when you were little, or were you even into the arts there?
No, I was so against my own culture in a way. I actually haven't thought about this too much, but like the traditional music, the dances, not as much, but I was kind of averse to it. You know, a lot of American TV and movies and music, actually world music, were the thing, and I was just sort of entranced by it, and like anything that was local was like, eh. I moved to the US when I was 13, so I was still fairly young and did a lot of growing up here, and once I did, the switch flipped, and suddenly I was like, oh no, I missed the music, I missed the food, I missed the art. So I haven't had too much exposure because I haven't been able to go back since 2008. So I am not too familiar with how things are there now. I've spoken to a couple of artists, but it's so different to experience it yourself, and I am looking forward for any opportunity to do that myself. A lot of my artness didn't come until much later. For my bio, I mentioned that I trained capoeira. I started when I was 16 and sort of got adopted within like the capoeira community. A lot of Brazilian stuff, a lot of other folks from other cultures bringing their thing. And I was a STEM person. I was like med school all the way. I did drama in high school. I wasn't too serious about it, but it was very fun. And then I took an adult acting class, and I was like, whoa, wait a minute. No, maybe this is the thing. And then like somebody put this into perspective for me, where like capoeira is an art form where there's dance aspects, there's martial arts, there's acrobatics, there's also music and singing. And I'm like, I'm already doing all that in this part of my life, and I'm inching towards it in my professional life. That makes a lot of sense. Let's just do that. So I went to UCSD, University of California, San Diego, for theater. I met a bunch of cool folks there. My like acting teacher who like really got to me, like she was directing one of my shows, and great things came from the relationships made there. I started doing local theater. This was 2018, 2019. And then I stopped doing theater for 2 years for some reason. I don't remember why. And then those communities start popping up again little by little. And I ended up doing this 24-hour theater thing that I'd never done before. And like that was really cool. A lot of my career has been like other people reaching out to me because they saw me in a thing, because my auditions are like terrible. I've probably only gotten like maybe 3 or 4 major projects from auditions, but like those things have led to other things, led to other things, led to other things. I got introduced into the Fringe. We did this show about the Beatles. That show led me to get another part, and then another part, and then somebody who tours around the European Fringe scene was like, anytime you're not in somebody else's project, do your project. And I was like, you can just do that? I hadn't really had any sort of plan or idea. And then in March of 2023, I had like submitted like a little script of just like whatever idea I had in my head to San Diego Fringe, and then like I didn't get it. And then somebody had dropped out 6 weeks out from the festival. I got a, hey, if you want to do it, you're in. And I was like, and I had the math equations going on in my head. I'm like, I know exactly what I want to do. Had nothing to do with the thing I was writing. It was a choose your own adventure, interactive acrobatic dance show. Everything was written out. There was no improv. There was like audience participation, that was improv, but like everything was written out. There was a branch of like storyline scenes that would never happen if the audience didn't choose it. It was about a relationship coming together. I got together with the person who I was like throwing these ideas around, and we made the show happen in 6 weeks. And people came to my show and they had a great time. They loved it. We sold out one of the shows. The last show had like 90 something people there. It was a 50-seat house. They had to like put up seats. I was like blowing my mind. The response that I got around the same time was like all I needed. Like I'm introverted, I'm reserved, you know. I've always had like, yeah, I don't know if I'm like good enough. That just killed it. Of course that little bit still exists, but like I now had evidence. They gave us the Spirit of the Fringe Award and the Artist Choice Award. That sort of validation of like all these other artists whose shows I've loved. They thought this was the show. I was like, oh, I had finally figured out my career path for the foreseeable future, at least, as long as this is doable. We souped up the script. We went elsewhere. We got Best of Fringe. I came up with the Omega Man project. It kind of came up the same way the next year. I had 8 weeks. And I threw a script together, did a ton of research, did it. And just like ever since, I've been writing scripts and having crazy ideas and putting them all together.
I love that. I feel like your story is the beauty of Fringe and like local fringes and fringes in cities that are happening, particularly across the US, where local artists kind of get involved and then find like who they are and what they want to do. And like, I can do this. What? It just jazzes me up so much, like coming out of my chair. If you took that idea to one of the theaters in San Diego, they'd be like, nah, because there's so much pressure on a theater of keeping those doors open and selling tickets. They just can't experiment, I think, maybe like they probably would want to. And so Fringe gives you the opportunity to do that and then to be like, no, dude, people like this kind of stuff. Like they're into it. Like, let's do more. So that's beautiful. I love that Fringe, like San Diego Fringe, has just opened up doors for you that like you never even knew were like there.
Yeah, it's interesting how Fringe has evolved, at least in my mind. Fringe, by its name, people think it's weird experimental stuff that you see parodied on How I Met Your Mother or whatever. And it is, but it's also become like the easiest way to put on an idea. And in San Diego, at least, there aren't very many spaces where you could go, hey, I want to put on a show. It's not very accessible. There's a couple of spots and they can be affordable, they can be understanding, but like you have to know, you have to find out, you have to figure it out. And Fringe is a good like infrastructure where you can sort of plant something and see what happens. And then maybe take to a bigger theater and say, hey, look, I got these sold out shows, I got these awards, I got this press. I know it's still a crazy idea on paper, but please, if you watch this video, it'll make sense. I listened to a couple of my friends on this podcast just to like see how it was. And Karen Hall was saying, yeah, I'm a cellist and I'm a clown, but I swear it's great. I just need you to spend 15 minutes, watch this, and trust me, people loved it. And your audiences probably will like it too.
Yeah. I mean, her little delusions and grandeur is really cool. But it's like, where else in the world can you put weird stuff together? And it's not weird for weird's sake, like you were saying. I have seen some of the best artists in my life at Fringe.
Yeah. And it's no longer the Fringe. It is like you see some of the most baseline plays, straight plays that you would see elsewhere. And the perception of Fringe being like experimental. So like, I'm not going to watch any of that until it comes to another theater that's more established. But no, like there's all sorts of shows. There's dance shows, improv shows, straight plays, acrobatic choose your own adventure dance shows, clown cello shows, stand-up comedy. So I've got the Fringe bug and it's been going pretty well. And whatever weird idea I have, I'll try it out there. And whatever not weird idea I'll have, I'll try it out there too.
Yeah, exactly. It's so good. You're quite the multidisciplinary artist. And I am assuming some of that came from like, I'm from the South. I'm like, capoeira? You said it with a really great Brazilian accent. For people who don't know, I Googled it. So it's Afro-Brazilian martial art disguised as dance, created by enslaved Africans for liberation, resistance, and self-defense. And so it intertwines a lot of disciplines. So you kind of were doing that before, but talk to me about all the disciplines, because you use technology a lot. You sing, you dance, you act, improv. Talk to me about like how all those mesh together and how you see them working together.
I think for most of my life, I've been sort of this scatterbrain, like that sort of extrapolates into like arts a bit. Like I started playing guitar in my 20s. And I really liked it and I kept it. I started playing piano a little bit less, but like I kept that. Capoeira has just so many elements, and then like other sort of dances from Brazil are adjacent and you experience them. And like I have no formal dance training and I do not claim to be a dancer, but I've like got into musicals mainly as a dancer because of it. And I've liked technology, I liked video games, like branching storylines came from there. I've always loved music. Heartbreak Feels Good came together over the last summer. And I've had music in my head and in my life for, 30 years now that I'm like, oh, that would be perfect. Like I have all these little elements of my life where I just take and I put in here, I take and I put in here. It's like a little puzzle piece. And Capoeira was really great in every sort of way because I was in this place as a young person and I was new to it. And that was just like a completely different culture that was new to me. And a lot of the singing sort of like caught me early on. The music caught me early on. A lot of those songs are like essentially folk songs, like historical songs about slavery in Brazil and everything that went along with it. So like I got a bit of an education there. And then one of my shows has elements that I learned in a critical thinking class that talked to us in 2013, 14-ish about like misinformation and fake news. And I still have that in my head, luckily. And I'm able to like go back there, maybe find some notes and put that together. So I'm like a sponge where I have all this information. Somebody's talking about something, I look it up. Having this sort of intellectual curiosities help me have a pool of knowledge that I can pull from and then like expand if need be.
I love, you're such an artist. I love that. Well, let's talk about these shows that you were just referencing. So I'm very excited about both of them for lots of different reasons. First, let's talk about the Omega Male program, where you're addressing the manosphere and you're tackling it kind of head on. So what are you wanting to say with this piece? Like, what are you hoping people walk away with?
This show was inspired by a fifth grader saying a catchphrase from one of the biggest manosphere figures during like a school program that I was performing for. And we didn't know what it was at the time, but when I found out, it was just like it destroyed me. I was like a fifth grader. And, you know, the manosphere preaches a lot of things and a lot of very harmful things. And I want to show how it works. There's a thought of like, you know, if you talk about who they are and what they say, you're sort of giving them a platform. It's better to not do that and do something else. And what I'm trying to do is show how the indoctrination happens. And it's the younger men and boys that are being targeted, and they're turned into these assholes, essentially, that are doing more harm to themselves as well as everybody else. So I want people to walk away going, okay, yes, this is bad. If they weren't thinking about it, now they are. Cool. And then maybe some ways to avoid it. I do like putting forth like a practical lesson. I don't want to spoil the show for folks who haven't seen it because it's kind of important to the plot, but like I show you how it's done. I don't tell you how it's done. And I throw in a lot of jokes. It's a lot of comedy, like a stand-up comedy bit with a character. And that's pretty much it.
Can you explain for people who may not know? I feel like a lot of listeners probably do know what the manosphere is, but explain that to us just so we can get kind of a better grip on that.
Sure. So it's a collection of folks online, majority men, who are advocating for traditional masculinity. You probably experience toxic masculinity, and that is what they're doing, but they're framing it as like, this is how it's always been, this is how it should be. Their ideology is that women should be relegated to child rearing and household things, and then men should be bringing in the money. That is what their ideal, you know, what they put on their Wikipedia pages. But what it turns out to be is they draw people in with these sort of common sense things like wash yourself, which is something that people need to hear. A lot of people need to hear. And work out and, you know, like eat good. And then they're like, but you should also treat women poorly. Some of these folks are homophobic, and they end up sort of giving this inflammatory ideology because that's what gets the clicks with the algorithms. That's what sort of gets the most engagement, is to get folks to be as angry as possible at something else and then say, okay, well, they're the problem. You can fix this if you subscribe to my, you know, subscription package, blah, blah, whatever, seminar, books. These guys are mainly trying to sell young men and boys things. Then they try to sell them an ideology. And then, you know, before that, they give them some bad faith tips. Then they give them, before that, they give them good faith tips. And before that, they try to draw him in with some sort of like underdog story where I used to be this beta male thing, and now I'm this alpha male thing, and here's how you can too. And that's what I am satirizing and hopefully teaching to avoid, or like how to spot.
Like what's going on. And I think that's the biggest question is like, how are you going to get the people in the door that actually need to see it? Because a lot of the people at Fringe, are people that probably are aware of that kind of thing. Like this, the type of people that are doing that. So it sounds like a really important show. And how do you get that into the eyeballs of folks who need to hear it?
So there's a line in the show saying people who need to see the show aren't here right now. And I'm very cognizant of that. So this show, as a part of Fringe, with the touring thing, I am gathering up all this evidence for a bigger theater. Theater, as it is still not going to get the audience that I want. To show these theaters that this show is worth doing at their place. And if it happens, there'll be a little bit more. I've recorded some of it, maybe put something together to put on these platforms, because that's where they thrive. There aren't too many folks out there who are putting forth the good ways to do all this, and they're not getting a lot of attention. And then I'm thinking maybe I would join the fight towards that in the little way I can, because I still have to pay the bills and do all that stuff.
Right. You don't want to be a social media influencer or like set out to be that, right?
We'll see, because some of these folks some of the Manosphere folks ended up going viral by accident. So if I go viral by accident of being an anti-Manosphere person, who knows?
That's so great. I'm very excited about the show. So then your next show is Heartbreak Feels Good in a Place Like This. So if people are unfamiliar with the commercial, there is one Australian actress who walks around in a silver suit inside of a movie theater. And she talks about how great movies are inside of movie theaters, like the 3-letter movie theater we're talking about. So it's a little spoof off of that. I am so curious, first of all, does that commercial grind you or does it excite you? And like, have you run into people that have like super conflicting ideas about it? And what are they? I have not talked to these people. I'm way behind on the times.
I'm sort of neutral about it because I can't afford to go to the movie theaters that often, so I don't see it as much. It's like when you don't listen to the radio and you really love a song that everybody hates because they hear it all the time. I think it's funny. I think it's campy. I think it's kind of stupid that they're like, come see the movies. I'm already here. Like, what? Do touch on that in the show. The show, I think, is for people who love it and people who hate it. As long as you know what the commercial is, I think you'll have a good time. I think by itself, the show is pretty fun. But knowing what it is the thing I'm worried about, is if I take this internationally, like, are people going to know what I'm talking about type of thing. I have met folks who, unironically, I don't know, but I've been told they have gotten up and have saluted as they say the words along with the thing. We come to this place for magic. We come to blah, blah, blah theaters to laugh, to cry, to care. Yeah, so I do playfully make fun of what's happening in that commercial a lot. And I do also try to extrapolate some meaning from it with still a humorous lens, but I think like people who hate it will love the fact that I'm making fun of it. People who love it will love the fact that I'm talking about it and doing what I do with it.
So, okay, it's a one-person show?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm super excited about like the choose your own adventure, and without giving too much away, how does it work?
So I wouldn't describe this as a choose your own adventure per se, because like other shows that I've written are like fully written out. This one is a script, it's a 12-page script, and I do the monologue. And it's under the lens of like, oh, I have this audition and it's for the sequel to this commercial. So I thought I'd like bring the source and like try to get it good. So I do it and I'm like, all right, audience, how is it? And I shepherd the audience along into participating. But the idea is to get them to tell me how to do it. So if somebody says do it sad, I'm like, okay, I'll do it sad. Also, like, here are my 3 rules. I can't do accents. It's not my thing. My knees hurt. And like, I've never been married to Tom Cruise. Like, these are just things that I cannot do. And people gotten really creative. I then sort of bring in more elements of like, here's an instrument. I can do it as like 5 different types of songs, and actually have brought an element for my Choose Your Adventure shows of like, okay, sad or happy? Happy, okay. Should we do like a nice and romantic, or like a dark and sexy, or like another thing? And then I do it as that song, like in the tune of Personal Jesus was the dark and sexy when I put this on my social media, so you can look it up. I do that monologue as a song. People love it. I get really physical. I throw up a whole bunch of pictures up there, and I'm like, look, here's me doing a headstand. Here's me doing a flip. Here's me dancing. Somebody made me do a K-pop dance. I don't know how to do a K-pop dance, but I've been around so many other people who have, so I faked my way through, and people laughed. And that is clown, and I will take that.
Yeah, you got to learn the Golden that just won the Oscar from K-pop Demon Hunters.
Yeah, somebody told me to do it on my head. That is my bread and butter. I can do any monologue while standing on my head. And then like I do take a break between these. In the 30-minute version of the script, I do it 5 times. And like after 2, I do some script analysis. We go word for word, together. Okay, this theater really wants people to come and spend money on concessions. Our heroes feel like the best part of us. I put out a bunch of folks on the screen, and I'm like, wow, these folks have been our heroes, but some of them misbehaved. So like they're touching on the Hollywood, ups and downs. And then I do like the analysis of the video of like, okay, so she's at this theater at Porter Ranch, and she's worth $250 million. These houses in this neighborhood are like, $600,000 to $4 million, and she's stepping on a puddle in the very first scene. That is her making a statement about the socioeconomic. So, we get pretty in deep with the analysis, but then at the end, try to bring it all together into a message of togetherness and some other stuff that you'll have to come and see.
Yes, I'm like, don't give it all away. Don't give it up.
There's a lot that I'm keeping secret for both of these shows.
Good. Because I feel like I know you well enough, even though I haven't seen your shows yet, that you have a depth to you. And so I'm hoping that these shows have some kind of, the Omega Male program lends itself to that. But this Heartbreak Feels Good in a place like this. Am I creeping on the right thing? Like we've got some commentary we're trying to make?
Yeah. Both shows, I get really personal about real things in my life. And like Heartbreak Feels Good started off as like a dumb fun thing, but then like working with my director, she helped me realize what this could be, and like an aspect of my life that was happening at the same time like meshed really well. So yeah, like similarly, if people walk away from Omega Man knowing more about society and culture and being prepared for it, Heartbreak Feels Good. It's similar. It's like a reminder of something that I want people to walk away from. Of course, I'm criticizing this big corporation and some weird decisions they made in the past, but that's a bit secondary to the heart of the piece, and it is where heartbreak could feel good. I asked that question of the audience a couple times, and then at the end, I give my answer.
Reasons why I love you. That's so great. Well, let me ask you, I've got 2 questions for you. I know you faced some challenges, and you talked about like, especially with writing scripts and that kind of thing. So what kind of like little advice would you give as you have worked through writing new work? Some of them you've done quite quickly. You've got some challenges and maybe some advice and things that you've learned from that.
So like my career path that I described before of having all these different things, I often asked my teachers and my mentors at my schools of like what I could be doing, because my thing was I want to dance, I want to play music, I want to sing, I want to act. How do I do all that? And like their answers, they were trying to be helpful, but they weren't the things that I needed to hear. And I would say to ask, if you don't know what to do or you don't know how to do something, find another person. Like even hearing something that you don't like also is helpful. Keep looking for the thing that's gonna fit you well. I eventually met an artist who said, if you're not doing somebody else's thing, you can do your thing in the meantime. And that blew my head up. Like I've been lucky where ideas are coming from everywhere. And I'm the type of person, like I mentioned, where like, okay, like this thing. Idea for Heartbreak Feels Good came because somebody was telling me to go see Sinners. Everybody was telling me to go see Sinners. It's an incredible movie. And I was like, okay. I saw the last showing in the theaters. It was like late midsummer maybe. And I went to see it, and I see this commercial. I see Nikki Kidd doing her thing that I've seen 100 times before, and I'm like, oh, I know exactly what I need to do. I need to turn this into a clown show. And I had seen a show at the Fringe, just to be close. Like, that was an inspiration. I spoke with Cam, and I was like, hey, listen, I have this idea. First, tell me if I'm copying you. He's like, no, you're good. I was like, great. Now tell me if it's a crazy, stupid idea. He was like, no, you're good. Great. And like, it came together. And then I got to watch Sinners with the jitters of having to write a script. That movie was spoiled for me. It was still an incredible movie, and I saw it again with a stable mind. But like, I've been lucky to have that thing of like, okay, like a script comes. In a similar way where I say, keep looking for your mentors or somebody who will give you the type of advice you want to hear. Keep doing things. See as many things. It's so hard for me to watch a new show and sit down. I'm like, it's a lot of emotional investment. But I sat down and watched something, a hockey-related thing that's been on fire lately, and I have ideas from that. People have been telling me months to watch it. So try things, ask a lot of people things, go to a Fringe festival. There'll be 40 artists doing the same or maybe different things, but like same in terms of figuring out what they want to do. That's 40 different people who will love to talk about themselves and their journey.
Beautiful. I love it. Well, okay, let's go to our last question, which is, what is your most interesting or awkward Fringe interaction that you've ever had?
I'm in Baltimore, right? Doing one of my shows. And, I'm hanging out. There's like 20 other shows there. And we're hanging out in this venue, and somebody like opens the door and like jumps in and goes, I think I just stepped in piss. And that was my introduction to John Michael. He was doing a show called Spank Bank Time Machine, and he has this explosive personality, and saw the show, and it was incredible. It was incredible. It was early on in my Fringe journey, so I've only seen like a couple of dozen shows, which sounds like a lot, but Fringers, not. No, I try to see as many shows as I can in each Fringe, and I got to see this show, and I got to experience the Fringe show, like something crazy and experimental, but also touching and educational. And he was hilarious. He was funny. He was an incredible person, just off stage. On stage, he did some insane, safe, consensual stuff with an audience member that I had never seen before. And then his character goes away, another character comes in, still him, talks about this deep, touching story about himself, about who he is. And we're like crying after seeing some insane stuff that like I don't want to spoil. It's about addiction and it's about overdosing. And as this character is talking about John Michael has OD'd from the crazy thing that had happened before. And this character tells us what Narcan is and like teaches us how to use it. It's essentially something that you can use to save somebody's life who's overdosing and dying. And teaches an audience member who had unwittingly helped with the overdose process and teaches him how to use Narcan on him, and like has like a tester one and does it. And then, John Michael comes back to life and talks about like, this is how you do it, and this is what I want to impart on folks. And I'm like, I'm paraphrasing this 2 years ago now, 3, and makes us sign a thing and gives us all Narcan. And I still have it. This probably expired, but like I now know how to administer Narcan to somebody who is ODing and how to spot the differences. And like I signed that little form saying I got some training. That was a show that is on my mind anytime I write something that I want people to walk away from transformed, because I was. And I walked away with a fun story. I walked away with a new friend who I haven't seen since, but you know what? One of these days, our touring schedules will coincide, and I'll be like,
I remember. I mean, that's the beauty of Fringe. That's like amazing that people walked away with Narcan, being able to maybe save a life. Hopefully it will expire and you'll never have to use it. But if you do, you have it, right? And then just making friends. It's so good. So it's full circle. Well, thanks, Levani. Thank you so much for joining me today on What the Fringe. It's been just such a delight to catch up with you.
thank you so much for having me, Lauren. It's been very fun.
Good. Well, you can catch the Omega Male program this April 9th at the Divisionary Theater in San Diego. And then Heartbreak Feels Good in a Place Like This is playing May 11th at the Broadwater Second Stage in Hollywood. And one of those shows will be performing at San Diego Fringe this May. So you'll just have to check the schedule to figure out which one it is. Learn more about Levani on his link tree at levani.k.o. I'll link that in the show notes. And then keep up with Levani on Instagram at levani.k.o. or on Facebook at levanikorgana, and I will spell that for you below. And that is how you can keep up with him. What the Fringe is produced and hosted by me, Lauren Hantz. This episode was edited by Ben Ellis of Renowned Media. Those sweet tunes you hear provided by Paul Snyder of Orchestra of Sound, and our logo was designed by Ruby Arnold of Ruby Makes Things. What the Fringe can be found on your favorite podcast platforms and now on YouTube. Be sure to hit that subscribe button so you can stay in the know when new episodes release. And keep up with What the Fringe on whatthefringe_productions. And find us online at whatthefringeproductions.com. Everyone loves to get their show reviewed, and one of the best places is Edinburgh because there are so many reviewers, and who doesn't love a 4 or 5 star review? But word on the street is if a reviewer really loves your show,
I've been told they have gotten up and have saluted as they say the words along with the thing, "We come to this place for magic."